Adore is an intriguing hands-off action RPG from Brazilian developer Cadabra Games. The focus is on capturing, upgrading, and synergizing creatures that function as your attack abilities, a feat you'll achieve by grinding procedurally generated maps for said creatures and a myriad of upgrade resources. With real-time isometric combat exclusively using summons, it feels novel at first, but progression begins to feel repetitive, unrewarding, and even frustrating at times. Starting with the good, Adore has an interesting premise. Your protagonist has been cohabited by the spirit of Draknar, the god of creatures. He was slain by his brother Ixer. Ixer's betrayal has resulted in a curse spreading across the land, corrupting once peaceful creatures, and leaving it up to Luca and a hidden village of fellow Adorers to try and set things right. Adore gets off to a slow start, but the combat and upgrade mechanics are surprisingly deep. At first, you only need to consider the type of creature. Think beast, mystic, nature, or arcane, and their attack patterns. Some dash forward for a flurry of quick attacks, some waddle along before dealing a sweeping AoE attack, others have to charge up for a few seconds before dealing a devastating high damage attack. With up to 4 creatures assigned to the face buttons, picking the right attack behavior is essential, and so too is using the correct damage type to counter armor. You also have a limited recharging stamina pool to manage, so you can't just spam all of them at once. That's only the basics, however. Creatures charge up special attacks you can selectively trigger. They can develop synergies with other creatures to unlock new abilities. They can gain experience from Shrines of Draknar to unlock new traits or level existing ones. Upgradable artifacts carried by Luca can add useful triggered abilities, while equipped runes provide him with varying levels of passive buffs if you have the points to invest. On top of that, you can collect ingredients and cook meals to heal or buff your team mid-mission. You set out from a central hub and slowly unlock 5 regions on a world map. There's a string of plot-related missions, many of which are just item or creature hunts before a battle against another Adorer or a puzzle-like encounter with Ixer, and then there's a constantly refreshing list of optional missions. You jump through a portal in the Adorer village into simplistic maps made up of interconnected segments, each with a handful of hostile creatures to capture or defeat, a mini-mission or 2, think activating switches or guiding floating orbs while under attack, and, hopefully, a useful item spawn, like the particles of Gatedrick used to capture creatures, cooking or crafting materials, and upgrade shrines. With 39 creatures to capture, managing their upgrades, synergies, and constantly shuffling them in and out of your active party can be fiddly with a gamepad, but there's a lot of fun to be had in slowly creating a diverse and powerful menagerie. So too is mastering the deceptively simple-looking isometric combat, which forces Luca to stay mobile and dodge attacks, summon creatures when you spot a gap or first-strike opportunity, and quickly recall them before enemies can land a counter, potentially knocking them out of action for a mission if their health hits 0. Unfortunately, moving the plot forward, capturing new creatures, and obtaining resources for upgrades involves grinding short missions and longer excursions, to the point progression feels repetitive and unrewarding, undermining the overall experience. To Adore's credit, it always indicates what challenges you might face, like a legendary creature, and what resources are available on any given mission. The problem is how quickly the resource costs escalate. Activating 1 or 2 runes, leveling your creatures up 2 or 3 times, and enhancing an artifact once are all manageable in the opening hours, but as your roster grows, you'll be forced to tackle the longest multi-map excursions, or multiple short missions to achieve any significant progress. As fun and tactical as the combat may be, and as stylish as the character designs and environments first appear, it doesn't take long before your brain settles into a monotonous routine, and both the vibrant backdrops, which will really suffer from that made-in-Unity look, all blur together. Of course, grinding to upgrade your party is hardly a novel idea in video games, but the gameplay loop falls flat here due to a few annoying design choices. The first issue is that you have to manually pick up most rewards, and they're prone to falling outside the playable area or hidden behind chunks of the environment. The second issue is how death results in dropping most of your currency and crystal shards, essential for purchasing and upgrading artifacts, or expanding rune slots and rune activation points. Both simply add a degree of frustration to an already grindy progression system. Now, Adore should entertain those that love collecting and upgrading creatures for battles, with no shortage of upgrade mechanics to engage with and satisfying tactical real-time combat. It's the mission and progression structure that leaves me conflicted. On one hand, it's a smart way to get more mileage out of limited assets, gives you plenty of time to engage with the mechanics, and it's a good fit for short sessions on the Switch or Steam Deck. On the other hand, the longer you play, the less rewarding the progression system becomes, and the more formulaic and repetitive the gameplay loop feels. If you've got this far, please consider giving the video a like and maybe subscribing to our channel, as it helps us grow.